Hello and welcome to the Berkcast, the How to Train a Dragon podcast. I'm your host HC. With me are,
Rush 2112.
And Wolf.
and today for episode 70, we have a guest. Introduce yourself.
I'm Leffie.
We're glad to have you here. Thank you for coming in, and we hope you enjoy your time with us.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. So, in in celebration of 70 episodes of the Berkcast, we actually decided to push ahead an episode that people have been requesting. I can see why they requested it, and I can see why we can probably have fun talking about it if we won't try to murder each other as we go along. So, with that said, let's talk about Hiccup shippings. And before we get started, one golden rule: Astrid is out for the sole reason it's a canon ship. So we're not going to talk about it in this episode. We can probably do an entire episode about Astrid. This won't be the episode. We are only talking about shippings that are not canon from either the franchise or other movies. That's what we're going to do. We can probably mention Astrid, but it's not the focus of this episode. So, actually, one last thing. Please remember that this episode is all about having fun, and we are probably if we are making fun of a ship you like or a ship you don't like, your opinions are yours. We're not disrespecting. We're just doing this episode for fun. That's all there's to it. It's all friendly. It's all friendly conversation. That's it. So with that said,
Direct all your anger at Rush.
Yes.
I didn't say that, but and
You
I
were
think
about
people
to.
are going to be angry at me. I think, but let's not jump into conclusions right now.
I'm jumping into a conclusion
Um,
of why they're going to be angry at you. I think I know what you're talking about.
well, we'll have to wait and see then.
Uh-oh.
So our first order is, what are your views on hiccup ships that don't involve Astrid? Not like thoughts about them existing and not the ships themselves. We'll get to this later. Leffie, you're the guest. Do you want to start?
Well, I'm sure. I have nothing against those ships as long as it's nothing with incest or pedophilia. Like, I don't care. People can ship what they want to ship. Like, only if it's those things I might twist a brow, but that's it probably. I won't go around and stab people. Shipping that shit for me.
Very
Okay.
good.
Rush, what are your thoughts on this thing?
The same idea for Leffie on those bounds, but there's sometimes like people do things that are just. It's not that it's like incest or pedophilia, but it's just really out there in terms of they do it just for the pure sexual content, and that just bothers me because it's like I don't know, it just seems like a little too much in my sense, and I don't even care if it's like the regular ship. I guess maybe it's just if people take it too far.
Mm-hmm. Wolf, what about you?
I guess you're going to hear a lot of the same echoed sentiment. It doesn't, it is what it is, right? If you want to ship something, go ahead and ship it. As I've said in the past, I'm not huge on ships myself. I don't jump into it and get into it all that much, if at all. But if you have fun with it, go for it. As long as it's not hurting anyone else, it's all good.
So pretty much a combination of what all of you guys said, that I'm okay with it existing. Like people can have their own fun with this kind of thing and show their own creativity through this. I won't say I fully support pedophilia or zoophilia like Rush and Leffie said. But one other thing that I kind of don't like, and I see it's kind of spreading, it's that people usually take these kind of ships way too seriously to the point they start hating on Astrid because of it. And you know, you I don't know. These ships ships don't exist in order to replace the canon, so you don't have to kill her off in the fan fictions or make her too much of a bitch, for lack of a better term, because I read one where Astrid was just like unreadable. She was so unlikable in this, and so that's my kind of thing. I don't mind that. I think it's usually it can be fun. Just keep in mind that that's all it is. It's fun, and in terms of canon, you can't really do anything about it. That's my take on the idea.
There's also one thing that kind of came up in my head is if somebody like does their ship but they basically say, oh, mine is the only true ship, or they just keep up in your face about it. It annoys me so much that like I just automatically lock my annoyance onto the ship and not them. It's kind of I know it's a bad habit, but so that's
it's
why
easy
sometimes,
to do that.
yeah. So
yeah, I can understand from sometimes it's something that happens. People are also into a certain ship that when you're saying it over and over and over, yeah, I get it. So if that's all, let's ask you, what was the first non-Hickstrid ship that you came across for Hiccup? What was your initial reaction to it?
I'll go first on this one. I think I came across a Merida Cup at some point. I think that was probably the first one. That was like back in the forum vine days, back when I was in there before I even came to the Tumblr or Discord and stuff like that. And at first I was like, who's Merida? I mean, I had seen the movie Brave, but I had only seen it once, so I really couldn't remember. And then I went into it and I saw him like, and this was even before I got into a fandom idea. So I'm like, why would people take two characters from two completely different franchises, two different animations? I was like the super analytical guy on him. Like, this just doesn't make sense. Why would they do that? So that was my take on it.
And that's the one that makes the most amount of sense, to be honest.
Yeah. It only got worse, Wolf. It only got worse.
We'll get to it. Who wants to go next?
I can go next. I think the first ship I saw was when I just searched for How to Train a Dragon on Tumblr, and then there was a post, like someone made art of Hiccup and Toothless. But then I had to realize that it wasn't just your bro TP thing, it was actually a romantic interaction, and that was the first thing I saw. And yeah, I didn't really like it.
Oh god, I think you already want the most traumatic experience.
Yes. It happened right at the beginning when I got into the fandom. The first things I see,
And every Tumblr you to afterwards, you're shipping Hiccup and Toothless? No. Okay, I'm in.
No.
Wolf, what about you?
Oh, I mean, I could say the first one I saw was Hiccup and Astrid.
Well, but we said we're not talking about that.
He said the first one other
So-
than
Are you breaking the rules?
That's my job.
Fence
Other
sitter.
than, I think the first one I saw was Hijack, Hiccup and Jack Frost from The Guardians, if I'm not mistaken. That was the first one.
Yeah,
I saw.
Rise of the Guardians.
Yeah, Rise of the Guardians.
I was about to say Guardians of the Galaxy. No,
I love Chris
Wrong
Pratt as
Guardians.
Jack Frost.
That was the first one I saw, though, and I was a little bit, that's a thing. All right.
I love the nonchalant. Okay, that's a thing. Sure, whatever. Okay, so to me, like Crush and like people who know me probably guess at this point, I'll refer you to the fanfiction episode for the full story. But to paraphrase, I came across this idea of How to Train a Dragon and Brave having crossover fanfictions somewhere on the internet. Googled it, found one story, and my initial reaction to the idea was, wait, no. And the reason I said that because if Rush was getting too analytic in the terms of, one's Disney, one's DreamWorks, and I know Brave is Pixar, but Pixar is Disney. Don't correct me, damn it. So, Rush, thinking about it from that side, I was thinking more of, but Hiccup has Astrid, and the entire point of Brave is that Merida doesn't have a love interest. So why thing? But then I don't know, I did a complete 180 and said, you know what? This is not canon. This is not a thing that actually exists. Somebody wrote it for fun. So I started to open up to it a bit more. And I think by the time I got into it, it was around the time of Riders of Berk, where Hiccup and Astrid were more friends with benefits than anything else. So I said, you know what? I'll roll with it. I'll go with it. And it kind of down spiraled from there. And I noticed all the other stuff, which we'll talk about soon enough. Okay, this is kind of a weird question, but I thought for the sake of discussion. Seeing how Wake Up is shipped with a lot of princesses, as the one we mentioned, do you think he'll have to give up the chief title if this ship was actually canon?
With Merida, he wouldn't have to, considering technically also still a chief, kind of how that works, but technically wouldn't have to give up the chief title. But with all of the rest of them, yeah, I suppose. Well, Moana's not necessarily a princess either, is she?
Yeah, she's
the chief of her tribe, so.
Oh, then still could be chief, just really long distance chief.
Well, you just have to think though, okay, so there's an enormous fan fiction out there that's still currently being updated called A Thing of Vikings, and that was my biggest point on this when I was reading the question, was because a lot of the marriages were don't laugh at me, I'm just kidding.
I'm not.
I know. A lot of the marriages are for strategic advantage, and that happens in A Thing of Vikings. So if he marries the princesses, it might be that he still is chief and the girl just goes over. And because honestly, let's put it this way, in real life medieval princes, the princess usually gets married off to a prince or somebody, and they are on their own. It's the prince that stays and becomes king if they have one, which, because this is Disney movie where girls have power. Not trying to pan that in any way. That sounded bad, I know. But there's usually no sons except for Brave. So in that case, actually, Merida probably would be married off since she has brothers. But yeah, so I think he could keep the chief title in a lot of sense.
I'm going to destroy this question and Rush's answer a little bit. At the end of the day,
nice.
It's fictional ships. You can kind of do whatever you want.
Yeah, but that's kind of the point of this question, to have a fun discussion about it, because why not?
Wolf doesn't understand the word fun.
Mm-mm.
So if I may allow the reins from the person who doesn't like fun, I have a theory about this. Here's the thing with in the case of Merida and kind of the rest of the princesses, I would assume, because Merida has brothers, but seeing how she's the oldest one of the bunch, I think in that case Queen pretty much triumphs over Chief, and I believe it kind of says it pretty much just says in the movies that Hiccup is the chief's son, but Stewie could have chosen someone else to be the chief, not necessarily Hiccup. I think they brought it up several times across the franchise, if I remember this correctly. But so I think in that case, he'll have to give up being chief in order to be the king. Now, the one princess that Disney princess, I should add, that probably would be married off in this case, and we'll talk about this ship later, is Anna, because Elsa's the queen, so she'll probably have no staying in the palace in this case. So that's kind of my theory on it. Moana is an interesting one because she's also a chiefess and not necessarily a princess. So that's actually a good debate. Who's sent off because none of them have any siblings? So how does that work?
HC,
I should ask
you
Disney
were.
about this.
I think you were right, HC. I probably got my history mixed up. If the female is the oldest, she probably does become queen. I need to look that up.
And also, I think in Brave's case, because Merida's brothers are triplets,
Fight to the death.
People kind of brought up the idea that if she's not the queen, how's the kingdom going to work with three princes? Like, you obviously can say who the one that came out first is going to rule, but if you have one that's significantly older, choose her. And also, for such a feminist movie, I think it will be kind of weird if all of a sudden it's like, no, one of her brothers is going to. Actually, I think Once Upon a Time did something with this. They did it terribly, but so that's a thing. Anyway, that's my take on the idea. What do you got?
Leffie?
I personally generally this canon label, I don't care much for it, or I guess the people don't really, they just walk around or they make their own solutions to problems like these. I don't think it really matters if Hiccup will be a king or not, or people will probably say, hey, Astrid would have been a great chief too, so she would probably go after him. Or Valka was there in the end, but I don't know if she would, yeah. One of those two would probably be chief if Hiccup moved on, but I wouldn't know anything about if the princess would go to Hiccup or if people go to her. I don't read the fan fictions. I'm not sure how they do it there. They probably don't incorporate this part of it. I'm not sure, but yeah, that would be it.
Yeah, I wonder if any of them actually take that into consideration, or they're just pure ship fix.
Yeah.
I said ship fix. Okay.
The P is very important. So, Wolf, do you have any take on it, or are you still refusing to have fun with the idea?
I mean, what do you want my take on exactly?
Just you that's coming to your mind.
Oh, I don't know.
I agree with his point. That's what I said. He kind of made sense, and that's why I said the whole it's still a ship in the end. Or just I don't know if they take that into consideration, because most of these people do write these for pure ships. They don't write them for story or plot or anything else. I think for those who do. But.
I think that's one of the reasons why you see a lot of these when you see these ships happen, when you see them. When you see all these characters together specifically, you generally don't see them within their own time frames. You'll see a lot of more modern day stuff using these characters. Mm-hmm. You'll see these characters in a completely different universe. There's the whole Harry Potter thing using Rapunzel, Merida, Hiccup, and I think Jack Frost or Anna Elsa, all of them really. You'll see them in Harry Potter. You'll see them mixed in there. You'll see them in more, like I said, modern day settings, going to college. You'll see them all mixed in there and everything like that. That way you can forego a lot of the more historical setting stuff and focus more on what it is that you want, what it is that person really wants to see, which is mostly these characters interacting with one another. And that's the big thing about it. And that's why, again, you always hear me say, shipping isn't necessarily a romantic thing. Yeah, it has romantic connotations. I know HC and Rush are going to immediately shoot that down, but so many people, I think, just basically say, I ship these characters together, but I also just really want to see these characters interact with one another. And so I want to write them interacting with one another, or I want to read them interacting with one another. So even if they're not together, seeing them interact is a great thing for me. And that's what a lot of people view it as.
I'm not going to shoot that down. I agree. I understand. Pro TPs, that could be a ship. I don't think Hick
Um,
ships Hiccup into us that way.
Some
mhm.
people do. That's
I
what I
know,
saw.
I know. I was talking about Foreign Vine and
Yeah.
Discord Hick
Mm.
Tooth.
Yeah. In, actually, to point out something that Wolf said, he is right that a lot of these crossovers are taking place in like the Harry Potter world or like in modern high school slash college stuff like that. But I read quite a few fics surrounding this that take place in the movie's time, and all of them had different takes on this idea, but most of them seem to agree that, at least with the Americup stuff, I didn't really read any of the other ones, but with the Americup stuff, it does seem that Hiccup does give up the chief title in order to be king, because king, at the end of the day, has higher importance than chief at the end of the day. So that's the logic for this. If people actually did the research regarding this stuff, then good on them. I just never found anything on the entire thing. And also, seeing how these how to change princesses are from no official word on it. I'm pretty sure no official will be revealed. So it's all up for speculation.
Yeah, I don't mean to like say like you can't do it within those historical settings, right? Like within their more, within their more like natural setting within where those characters are from. I'm just saying that I think it gets definitely harder to do so, and it requires a lot more work. And again, I think that isn't something that a lot of people necessarily want to focus on. They more so are focused on the characters interacting with one another.
Yeah,
That's the big thing for them.
if people do these ships, I'll say it again. Again, also not to offend anybody who's put like actual super amount of effort into it, but most of these are just to get the ships out there. Um, I haven't seen any real super incredibly in depth historically. I'm not gonna say accurate, but like they make up their own history to it, have a huge background and world building in any of these ship fics.
There's actually one Americup fic I read. It's kind of a fic and its sequel, but the other wrote it like put actual historical research into it and into the traditions and everything. And I actually wanted to get her on the show. I think it's a she, but I never got around to it. But if you're interested, check out on fanfiction.net LJ9. Um, I don't. It's kind of sad that I don't remember the actual stories' names, but I'll check it out. I'll probably put it on Tumblr if anyone's curious about this. So are we done with this? Okay, or anyone has anything else to say?
I'm done.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time. The meat of this episode, the one thing everyone probably wants to talk about already, the one thing we held up for so long. It's time to talk about the ships themselves. Give me a drum roll.
How about
How?
no?
Well, it wasn't a drum, it was more of a simplistic instrument, but I'll take it. Thank you, Leffie. Anyway, before we go over RBS 5, which are the latest 5 Disney princesses, does anyone have any ships they want to discuss? Like they saw it and they say, and you think you want to talk about it?
I think we should also bring up some. So these are like the out of universe, but there are several in universe. Or in How to Train Your Dragon ships. So there's
Yeah,
Hiccup
that's
and Heather, and then Hiccup and God, what does Horns Yams do a lot? She does they do what is it?
Mala.
Mala, yeah, Hiccup and
Yeah,
Mala.
Mala. Was there one for Hiccup and Atali?
Yes,
I don't think there was.
There might have
I
been
never saw anything for it.
there might have been like one or two pictures for it, but I don't
should
think it got too
should
popular.
we mention Hiccup and Dagger.
Absolutely. I mean, Hiccup X Dagger with Hiccup and Dagger's boot with Jello Savage on the side is the only ship you need.
Yeah, why are we not considering Wolf's favorite? That's why Wolf isn't being happy. He isn't having fun because we didn't mention his favorite ship.
We did not.
Well, we mentioned. So you know what, Wolf? Enlighten us about this wonderful ship.
It's literally this is I think it shows just how much like shipping is kind of a non-thing to me, that I'm willing to have fun with something so ridiculous. It's only based on the line of Dagger and Defenders of Berk yelling at Hiccup that he will kiss this boot, and Savage just every single time rushing up to kiss the boot himself. Like that's all it's based on.
Oh God.
Hey, I
well,
mean,
you know.
it's like those ships that come out of two characters just making eye contact once throughout the whole series.
That's enough.
That was fixed before
That's true.
an earlier RTT, but they actually interacted.
We
If
should
I
also
may-
mention Hiccup and Roughnut 2 as a ship as well.
Oh yeah, how did?
Yeah,
good
that-
lord,
yeah,
why did
that's
we
a
get
ship.
That one. That's a big one.
I will say one thing about the Hiccup and Dagger ship, and just for clarification to people who would accuse me of homophobia or anything. I have some friends who are gay, lesbian, and bisexual. This is not coming to attack those people in any way, but considering the fact that we have an openly gay character in this franchise, Hi Gaber, and he says that this is the one reason he never got married. Don't you think it's kind of weird that people are going in this direction at this time? I mean, it will be an interesting read, I don't say, but I don't know. Even then, Hiccup and Dagger don't seem like maybe. You know what? Dagger will be the psychotic girlfriend, and Hiccup will be the one who wants nothing to do with him. That's how I see the ship. Anyone who read this kind of fix, let me know if that's what happens, because I would read that. That's my
I
take
like how
on
you
it.
say would be. He already is the psychotic girlfriend.
Okay, point
He
made.
practically proposed to Hiccup. I mean,
Yeah.
what more do you want?
Yeah, he proposed to him to be the best man, not the actual
Will you be my
groom.
pro?
Oh gosh, I don't know what to say. Say yes. That was the best part of the
Yeah,
episode.
that was
if you
great.
ask me. That was great. Yeah. You know something? We shouldn't mention it, but they don't listen to this anyway. One of my best friends is going to propose to his girlfriend soon, and I just hope that they say, I have no idea what to say, just so that I could shout, say yes.
You're in the
That's-
background. It's like, hey man, where are you gonna propose? Oh, I'm gonna do it here. It's like, oh, that's so cool. It's like then you're there in some bushes. Oh, I don't know what to say. Say yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man.
Okay, so Hiccup and Dagger, it's an interesting idea, but at the same time, I think it's one of those ships that kind of went overboard with the amount of how much people ship it, because some people actually looked for actual Hiccup and Dagger become friends, which Race to the Edge eventually did, but way before Race to the Edge. And the people just kept putting on more and more on this ship that it kind of became one of those, okay, I've seen this so much, I don't have any time for this, I'm moving on to something else. And I totally made fun of it in that parody fic that we read
Oh,
60
yeah.
episodes ago.
Oh man.
Okay, so that's Dagger.
So, I guess I want to stay in universe right now as well. I want to talk about Mala and Hiccup. So Orange Jams does pretty good job. How about this? A great job of drawing it. And I can see this one happening. But the constant theme is usually that Hiccup is older with Mala. And I can understand that if you want like a more mature ship, like that's one for that. So there's that. I don't know if you guys have anything more else to say on that one. But then like we get to Roughnut and Hiccup, and I feel like that was a product of. I say I feel like I don't actually know. I feel like that was a product of people either not liking Astrid and then just going straight to the other female character that there was consistently. Because I'm pretty sure by the time the Rough Cup ship came out, like Heather had already been in there, but she was gone, something like that. But then so like it might have been as opposed to that, and they just thought, oh, Astrid doesn't appreciate Hiccup, XXX, whatever. Actually, hold on, let me check something real quick. So one of my first fan fictions that I read was, it was like in the first 5, I should say. The Boy Behind the Mask. Isn't that Hiccup and Heather?
I have no idea what you're talking about. Have you heard of it?
The boy or the girl? Because Heather had a mask. Well, no, she didn't. Yes, she did.
The Boy Behind the Mask.
Okay,
It's just
no,
the
I
name
don't
of
know.
it hasn't updated in like super long. So anyway, yeah, so that's another one. That was like Hiccup and Heather ship right there. But I think that's all really the females in the franchise that Hiccup is shipped with.
And that, about the Hiccup, because this ship was mostly, for the longest time, was based on the Riders of Berk solely. It kind of died down when Race to the Edge became a thing. But in terms of the Riders of Berk idea, I don't know. Something just... I probably talked way before, but in the Riders episode she's in, Heather is this pretty much OC character. So in that sense, I didn't really like that idea all that much. Not that I have any OCs, they could be perfectly fine, and believe it or not, I'll get to it later, but something about it, she seems like a very basic OC, almost a Mary Sue, and we probably talked about this.
We did.
So that's my thing. Can work, but not in the ways they necessarily presented it, I think. That's my take on it. Anybody else?
I mean, I've always seen like at least looking at the Riders of Berg thing, I always saw that as more of a Heather and Astrid thing, like them getting along and becoming friends at that last point, more so than Hiccup. Like I know how they tried to present it, but it never really came off that way to me. But back then, even I said like Heather wasn't my favorite character. After Race to the Edge, I've enjoyed Heather a lot more. But even now, I would still say like Heather still seems way more friendly towards and just better to get along with Astrid than Hiccup, in my opinion. But I mean, I can see why people enjoyed the ship, right?
Leffie, what are your takes?
On Heather, just generally the Hiccup Heather ship, or?
Yeah, we talked about for the last couple minutes. So what do you think about Hiccup and Heather?
I just remember once watching a really good video on like an edit on YouTube about those two. I thought the edit was good, but I didn't like the ship itself. I like them more as friends and not as a ship. Just generally. I have nothing against her in particular. I get why she's a bit Mary Sue like, and maybe people don't like that about her personally, but yeah, I don't have anything big against that ship. It's not. I don't think it's that big in the fandom. At least I don't see it that often.
I saw it more before Race to the Edge than post Race to the Edge.
Yeah, I think it's on Tumblr. Or maybe it's because of the blogs I follow, but I don't see many of the non-Hiccup ships in general.
Okay, that's interesting. So we kind of most of the in-universe stuff, and if I just a quick out-of-universe ship that I just have a funny story with, so I'll share it. Apparently, people ship Hiccup with a character called Mavis from Hotel Transylvania. Have you guys seen that movie? I didn't.
I know who she is, but I haven't seen the movie. It's the vampire, right?
Yeah, I've seen bits and pieces of it. Yeah, I think she is the vampire from that movie. Count Dracula's daughter.
Okay. Here's the thing. I haven't seen the movie, at least not at the time of this recording. But my friend saw them, and she's a fan. So I once told her, I once on, I think it was DeviantArt or maybe Tumblr, I'm not sure. I saw that there's Hiccup and Mavis ship, and her literal reaction to this was going, "What?" That's the best reaction to something on the internet. Just staring back at the person who told you about this and going, "What?" I don't know. Maybe there's justification for it. I personally haven't seen the movies, so no comment.
Fair enough. Like a lot of that was
Okay.
definitely me when I first got into the fandom. A lot of just looking at it. Of course, I didn't have anybody to look at, but I just look. I'm like, what?
It's yeah.
There's a lot of what. One friend who all of a sudden tells you, I saw people ship Timon from The Lion King with Tinkerbell, and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with people? But hey, if that's what makes them happy, go for it.
I think most of the ships come from YouTube, right? Just from these edits from like people who just put them together on a screen and then they start shipping.
I don't know, Leffie. I tend to really.
I have no idea how this kind of.
I tend to blame
What?
artists. Wink.
Go ahead.
I said I don't know, Leffie. I generally tend to blame artists for the shit.
Okay. You look at my vlog.
Segueing into artists really well here. As an artist, Leffie, I would actually like to ask you, there's, in my opinion, that's probably one of the better things about seeing these different ships and all these different characters together is a lot of the really adorable and cute art. I would love to hear some of your opinion about that.
Sorry if I missed the first part about what again?
About different, some of the different art you can see, like a lot of the different art for, like, say, Merida and Hiccup, where they're together. A lot of that, I would say is very cute and adorable, and I would love to hear some of your opinion on some of the different art that you might have seen here and there.
Oh, yeah, like I see many posts that blow up are like from the Big Four in general, and some of those artists are really good. I like those pieces. But yeah, like those that blow up are usually from artists that are more popular, but I haven't seen the other ones. But there are really good artists out there in general. No matter what they draw, if they draw another ship, it can still be really good art.
As an artist, right? I would be curious to ask you: is there any particular ship with Hiccup that you would like to draw that wouldn't be Astrid and Hiccup that you may not have drawn yet?
Like OTP, like romantic wise, I don't know because I only ship them. But maybe.
Fair enough.
It sounds like a request.
No, not at all.
That's $15.
I wouldn't know who.
I would like to make a request. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
I'm kidding. Anyway, one thing I do want to say, speaking of art with these characters, one of my favorite artworks for these kind of crossovers is after the How to Train Your Dragon 2 teaser trailer was released and everyone went crazy about Hiccup's redesign. So, like, there's this art of, you see Hiccup going on, oh my god, I survived puberty and I have this awesome looking sequel, oh my god, guys. And then you see, like, the other members of the Big Four, like, all, like, being all sad and stuff. And Rapunzel is like, at least I have a video of my wedding. Jack says, at least I still have my fangirls. And Merida is like, at least I still have both of my legs. I don't know. I something about this art really made it was adorable. Okay. Since Disney is pretty much my territory, I think I'll just go over these 5 real quickly. If you want to say anything, then go right ahead. I'll start with Rapunzel because she is also 2010. she can and her years. So let's go with that. This is one of those ships that I don't see a lot, and I think it's for a good reason because I don't know about you guys, I don't see it. I don't see them being great friends and probably drawing something together, but other than that, no. And for the sake of the argument, she has a canon boyfriend as well. Let's ignore that. I don't see it.
Isn't it a canon husband? Didn't they get married?
Yeah, and that one short.
Um,
No, I thought it was at the
yeah,
very end of the movie.
Oh,
like they made a short which shows what happened in the wedding, and there's technically the series, but it takes place between the movie and that short. So, but the point of the matter is, the last chronological point for them is that they're married.
Yeah.
they can be
But
art buddies.
ignoring. Yeah, that's what I want to see. Being out buddy. That would be cool. Anyone else? Okay, cool. Next one. So,
I mean, there's not a lot to say about it, right? I mean, it's a ship. It exists.
yeah, pretty much. Okay, so the time has come. I think to defend my statement. I said previously on the Berkcast that I ship America. Kinda, don't have much time for this now as I used to have. Here's my point. The way I see it, relationships is based on the fact that both the people who are in the relationship are both similar and different, because that way they can complete each other. So Hiccup and Merit are pretty similar because both of them are pretty much outcasts and different from their usual stereotype. But on the different side, Hiccup tries to be the traditional side, only to realize to be his own unique identity, while Merida tries her hardest to not follow the norm, but learns that she has to as part of her responsibility. That both of them can complement each other really well, in my opinion. Merida can help Hiccup believe more in himself, and he can help her. She can learn from him how to both be herself and help support the tradition. That's the way I see it. That's the way why I think it works. That's my main explanation for this. Putting it out there.
You also
Now,
forgot
feel free to disagree.
the similarity of having gigantic Scottish accented fathers.
Well, but that doesn't really determine how the relationship would work, would it?
I don't know about you,
Yes.
but it might. Yeah. Why don't we ask
course.
them?
But both Fergus and Stoic are awesome in their own respective ways, and you know what? I would definitely pay to see Gerard Butler and Billy Connolly in the same room together. That would be something.
Okay, if I can say something to this, I think I just thought about it. If Merida was in the How to Train Your Dragon universe, like without this problem of not being able to, because she's a woman, to do these things, she wouldn't be that different from Astrid, I think. Like they're both these badass women.
Yeah, which I think why this show is popular, because it's like she's like Astrid, only not. And
Yeah, Astrid.
Personally, I think as a character, I'll probably get some hate for this, but not that I dislike Astrid. I like Astrid as a character a lot, but I think I prefer Merida a bit more. Maybe because she's the main character as opposed to a side one, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me being me.
I can imagine Hiccup saying, "She's beautiful, but I can't understand a word she's saying with that accent."
Would
Well,
never
he can
happen.
understand Stoic fine. He can
Yeah.
understand Gobble fine.
I don't know what you're talking about, son. She's talking just normally to me.
And then Gobble is like, I like that lanky one with blue tattoos. I like his voice. Because Bud Gobble and all
Craig
look it
Ferguson.
up. Yep. Anyway, anyone who disagrees with me or want to
I
say
mean,
something about?
out of the big four, right? I think Hiccup and Merida is probably my personal favorite, just because I can see the characters working really well together. But also, like, again, I'm one of those people who, yeah, don't get really big in the ships. But one of the things I love to see about all of the ships is the art from them, especially the really adorable and cute art. And going to be honest, I've seen more cute and Hiccup and Merida art than I have any of the others so far. The rest of you need to step up your game if you want me to like your ships more.
If hold on, let's put let's put this in perspective. If Wolf likes your ship, granted he doesn't say like he goes out there, but if this is his favorite of the big four, then you're doing something right.
But it's not my favorite Hiccup ship, though. At least not like out of universe ship. It's not my favorite Hiccup out of universe ship.
Oh, out
That
of
belongs to
it's,
something else.
Okay, so keep that. I just want to finish
Oh,
the
sure, go ahead.
quickly. Okay, so Marikup is probably my favorite ship, and I want to believe that it's not because Merida is my favorite Disney princess. I said it, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Next one. Okay, so Anna. I'll be honest. The one thing that kind of makes me like this ship in an ironic sense is that Jay Baruchel and Kristen Bell played a couple in the movie Fanboys, to those who've seen it.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so both of them played a couple in the movie Fanboys, which, to be honest, was the best part about this movie. And yeah, so in that ironic sense, I like it in that ironic sense. But other than that, it could work, but I'm not sure if it should work.
I think their personalities are too different because Anna is just bubbly and happy all the time, and Hiccup, I feel like he needs somebody to ground him. So he probably might get annoyed with like her just constant happiness or something. Or not happiness. I mean, that's kind of bad if you get constantly annoyed by somebody else's happiness, a la Squidward. But I just feel like if somebody was like that all the time, Hiccup would be like, kind of disenfranchised with the whole too happy thing.
I mean, Hiccup could definitely pass for Squidward Rush.
Only after he lost his dad. He's too... Because, Squidward is just downright unhappy. Hiccup is a sassy, sarcastic boy. You gotta separate the two, otherwise I am Squidward.
I'm Squidward, I'm Squidward.
Yeah, we're Squidward.
Yeah. Alright, that should be the Squidward.
Oh, man.
Anyway, yeah. Before I go to the one probably waiting for me to talk about, Leffie, what do you have to say about Hiccup and Anna?
Actually, not that much. Well, she has a boyfriend. We know that already, and I don't know, just generally.
It exists. That's what.
Friends, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know much. I didn't really see that one much, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
not even
it's not. Out of the two Frozen sisters, the one that gets the least traction.
Yeah, I saw him more with Elsa.
But now, people, it's time. I will try and not be too angry about this one, like I was in that previous episode.
I knew it.
Well, good job, Sherlock. It was only a predictable thing about this episode. People who know me might know that I don't like Hiccup so much. I love Hiccup, I love Elsa, but I don't think they'll work together as a couple. Now, instead of going on time, which I know some people found enjoyment of, I'm going to be a bit more explain where I'm coming from. Hiccup and Elsa have only one thing in common, and that's their sarcasm. Other than that, they don't really have much in common with each other, all that different from each other to create what I think is a good relationship. And I'm saying this because I actually had two friends who were like this. Two friends who had nothing in common, tried and be a couple for a week or so, and then they broke up and barely spoke to each other again. So, if unless we're going to end with breakup, Elsa called, pun entirely intended. I don't see this ship working, which is why I'm desperately looking for someone to change my mind on this because it's a popular ship. So what am I not getting here? I don't like this ship, but at the same time, I'm curious about it. It fascinates me.
You say they have nothing in common, but both of their parents tried to lock them away.
Both of their dads are now dead.
Possibly both of their moms will soon be dead. Or, Hiccup's just one mom away from being exactly like Elsa in that regard as well.
Shared parental trauma, man.
Well, I don't remember locking Hiccup.
They both have
off.
zero friends when we first see them. They're both terribly awkward in social situations.
Yeah, but after this, Kristoff and Olaf.
They both have.
And she probably meets friends all the time now. Now that she's a walking.
Well, HC's breaking up a lot.
Yeah. Speaking of breaking up, Hiccup and Elsa should... No, I'm just kidding.
What?
Hear me now? Am I good?
You're getting
it's a little bit better,
yeah.
Anyway, it's a good thing this is happening at the end of the episode.
Okay, so you go ahead. I'll listen.
Wolf, you
About Elsa and what?
Is there anything Leffie? Is there anything you'd like to say about Hiccup and Elsa?
Not just generally what I liked about Elsa in particular. I think what most people liked was that she was the strong leading female without a man by her side. Many people for Frozen 2, they want her to get a boyfriend or to get a girlfriend. And I would say leave her alone for the sake of her just being alone. Let her be a princess without a partner.
Mm-hmm.
One queen, two I second it.
What?
One queen, not a. I second what you said.
He agrees with you.
Oh, okay. Okay, I thought you didn't understand me. Okay, good.
Yeah, I think actually that's kind of funny that you bring that up because sometimes a lot of these people want the ships for representation, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. And I totally agree. It's we always have the male-female pairs, so why not get the female-female pairs and stuff like that? But can't we ever just have the people that are alone? Not in a bad sense, but they're doing fine, which is why I agree with you. It would be fine if Elsa was just on her own.
Yeah, I don't know if she's the type who would want a partner. Also in general. She seems very cold at it.
The loneliness never bothered me anyway.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, yeah. So that's the last one is Moana. Yet, even to be angry at me, Moana is pretty much a Mary Sue in herself. So the same thing I said about Heather applies here, in my opinion. Yeah, I've seen done well. A Mary Sue is not necessarily a bad thing if she's enjoyable, and Moana isn't. I'll say that much. But again, she's not the OC. I'll have to take a gamble with the story and hope for the best. So that's my point of view on it. And the only thing people seem to ship Hiccup and Moana about is that she's the chiefess. Same with Elsa, he's the chief. There you go. That's the base for it. So it's a pretty weak base, if you'll ask me. But have fun with it. Have fun with it.
This is actually something I saw. I made people might get mad now, but it's the same thing with Jack and Elsa, which is a really huge ship. People ship them because they have ice powers. It's like like you said, for me, that's just not a reason to ship someone if they just have this one thing in common and the rest is just.
Actually, if I may just say this, then Jack Frost and Elsa ship, they're more to it in my opinion than just the ice powers. But that is the I get you there.
Again, sorry, I didn't catch that. Sorry, you were like choppy.
Well, I just said that the Elsa and Jack Frost has more of a base than just they have ice powers. There are a lot more logical explanations. But I see where you're coming from.
I think like that's the first thing I think people think of, just this ice connection. But I have not seen Rise of the Guardians. I'm not quite sure how Jack is, but I've seen clips, but I don't know if they really. I don't know. I just think they should both stay alone. And I think Jack already has the Tooth Fairy, right? So.
It's not canonical. The Tooth Fairy is not canonical.
It's not? They were hugging in the end. That's totally.
it's
totally in here.
Well, Leffie, write some fan fiction or draw some.
I drew those two already.
Oh.
Once.
Like it's heavily implied, but it's never actually stated that that's the relationship. But I see where you got it.
That's good.
Anyway, so that's HC's take about Hiccup shipping with the Disney princess. You guys.
Rush, you've been kind of quiet. Is there anything you'd like to say?
I've been trying to make out what HC's been saying. That's why I've been quiet. No, I'm just kidding. But
Mr. Robot.
Yeah, I think next time. Well, okay, after we finish this discussion, if we ever go on Discord again, I have another idea on how to make this a little bit better. Anyway.
Okay.
So for me, actually, like, I haven't seen too much of Hiccup and Moana, if any. This is the first time I heard of it. Granted, anytime
it's very small.
Yeah, anytime there's a female character that's a lead, you can assume they're going to be shipped with a male character that's a lead. So I should have seen it coming. But it's, to me, it's just another, oh, there it is. Okay, fine. I don't have any real opinions on them. For Hiccup and Elsa, it's just like, okay, I already gave my 2 cents. Just leave her alone. It's not that I don't like the ship. It's that I think actually, for once, I think it's the other side. It's the person that Hiccup's being shipped with. It's not the fact that you're breaking up my OTP. It's the fact that Elsa needs to be alone. But yeah, so I got really nothing on Moana there. In the whole Disney princess sense, I feel like the whole idea behind these movies is for the little girls and sometimes little boys to say, okay, sometimes you don't need a man in your life, stuff like that. So I'm not saying the ship necessarily breaks that, because in some sense, Hiccup would be a good guy to go for. So it's not saying that you don't need a man and we're breaking this. It's like, you don't need a man, but if you have one, here's the idea to go for. And that's also some good things that, like, Anna having Kristoff, he's a good guy to go for, stuff like that. So, oops, I accidentally hit page down. So in the Disney princess sense, I think it's kind of okay to have the ships with Hiccup or whoever, as long as they're a good guy character. But sometimes it defeats the purpose of the Disney princess.
I agree.
Can I maybe say something about like this whole thing in general?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah,
I
go
think
ahead.
what many people do with these ships is like they step out of many times just out of the universes of the movies and like create their own. And I think they put so much effort into all these stories and the fan art. I don't have nothing against that. You can do what you want to do, but maybe it's nicer if you maybe take those characters, like the things you like about them, and make your own characters out of them. Like not stick to the universe they're already in. Like make your own story out of it. Because that's what I did once. I was in a I like two characters from a franchise, and then I realized, hey, there's so much I'm adding to this. Maybe I want to make my own story out of it, like completely step out of this universe. I think that would do some of them good, but I'm not saying you can't do this at all. I just think it's a pity if you just stick to this one thing and not go further out of it, just in general.
Mhm.
Absolutely, I would agree. Like that's one of the funnest things you could
Yeah.
really do is explore it more in terms of stepping out of where they're at and bringing them out of all of that and just kind of exploring them as characters themselves and them being together and just being even more creative with it. That can be a lot of fun.
You wouldn't have to worry
Yeah.
about this whole king thing, like who would be chief, what would happen. Just make your own universe.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
There's also something to be said about if you can make the characters work without changing their personalities, then that's a sign that you can actually like ship them. I feel like if you have to change something about the character that is basically a part of them, part of the character, then you really take away the idea that, at least from my point of view, that's what makes it seem like it wouldn't work. Like for the Anna and Hiccup one, like they're too different. If you change their characters to make it work, then I don't think it should work. Not saying I should ship them. That's to each their own, right? But and the other thing is like if you can't give a good enough reason to make it work with their current personalities, then that's another kind of like it just doesn't work. But if you can make it work with their personalities, you can find all the little connections between them. That's respectable.
Absolutely.
Yep, agreed.
I like how we constantly. That's honest. I thought there would be a lot more.
I like how you constantly break
Especially
up
with
at the
Ra-
worst points in time.
Oh,
It's
oh God.
I know we're doing a show, but maybe try leaving and coming back if you can. See if
In like
that
the
helps any.
last couple of seconds.
Okay. Keep talking. I'll be right back.
I have a topic we can go into a little bit because we've talked about all of the female ships with Hiccup. We should at least bring up the last member of the original Big Four, which was
Jack
Frost and Hijack, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And I would
good.
say like
He's gone. Let's talk bad about him.
Absolutely.
Oh, hey, HC, you're back. Hey.
Earlier than Rush wanted to, huh? Maybe you can't hear us.
Yeah. Oh, good, he can't hear
So
us. All right, let's keep
about
going.
me being a really bad host.
Good Lord, can you please just...
Are you going to cut this out or leave this in?
Oh no, this is all going in.
Oh, this is all going in.
Oh,
Edit
yeah.
here on the Berkcast? What?
Editing? Ew. I left
I thought
it.
He's gone again.
Yeah. Oh, good.
But back on topic.
Yeah.
Hijack. I would say for me, this one is a little bit of a weird one, and not because it's a gay ship or because it's two male characters. It's weird for me because it's just Jack Frost. One of the things like that kind of that takes me out of it
Finally.
immediately is, hey,
Welcome back.
hopefully you won't be
Yeah.
breaking up as much.
Oh,
But one of the things that
okay, I'm back.
all right. One of the things that takes me out of Hijack a little bit is one kind of the very difference in their characters, where Jack is very much way more of a trickster. He's kind of a little bit devious. He loves to mess around with people a lot. And another thing, coming back to the whole kind of, based on their settings, Hiccup being a Viking, Jack being worshipping a lot of paganism and pagan gods with the Norse gods and all that, and then Jack Frost being more of a kind of Christian thing, where it being like very much kind of forget the word for those particular myths and all that, but like it kind of takes me out of it a bit because just the difference in time and all of everything else surrounding that vastly takes me out of how those two characters even being able to interact in the first place. And then I just come to look at their characters themselves and kind of try and take myself out of that mindset and just look at their characters. And even for their characters, I just can't personally see it. I just don't think they would get along in such a way that it would work for the two of them.
So what you're
So that's
saying
kind of-
is because
I'm
Jack
not a
is
big fan of Hijack.
because Jack is a trickster, you would ship him with Tough Nut.
Oh.
Absolutely. It
Okay.
would make more sense as
qu-
Loki.
Quick tangent to an HC tale from the outside the US. Tough Nut and Jack Frost are voiced by the same person.
Oh, interesting.
Good to know.
No. No way.
He doesn't use the same voice for both characters, but it's the same guy.
It's cool.
Hmm.
And he's married to the actress who's doing Elsa's voice. So yeah, Jelsa is canon. Anyway, back to
I mean,
Hijack for a second.
We should. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've kind of said all I wanted to on Hijack, really. It's just a ship that I don't inherently get as much as some of the others. And I don't see it as much. Again, to anyone who enjoys it, have fun with it, enjoy it all you want. As I've said before, there's a lot of really cute and adorable art, even of Hijack. And there's a lot of good art of the Big Four in general, right? And I think we should bring up the Big Four a little bit in saying that, yeah, no, the Big Four isn't necessarily a ship in and of itself, but the Big Four, with that being, like the crossover between, How to Train Your Dragon, Brave, Tangled, and Rise of the Guardians, like that
And
crossover is very big.
Here and then also Frozen.
Again, the original Big Four, not adding in anything to it, because I think at this point it's kind of the Big Six, maybe, because I think Moana's a part of all of that now too.
I'm not sure actually. I don't.
At the very
think
least,
so.
I know Frozen is a part of it, so at least the Big Five.
I saw I actually saw a Big Four, the original Big Four fan fiction, but they were all friends, and like Hiccup was still dating Astrid. And it was like,
Yeah.
this is
And
very
that's-
odd that they have it in there and they're not doing any things with them. It's like I
But
expected.
I think, again, it comes back to what I said earlier, where I think for a lot of people, it's not necessarily a ship thing. It's they enjoy having these characters within the same world and universe. And so
Yeah,
that's why
that's
you'll
what I
see
like
them
about it,
in Harry
personally.
Potter. You'll see them in, more modern day settings because they just want to have them interact. And I think that's very enjoyable and a lot of fun because then you get to still see all of these same characters have that exact same character and you get to see them interact. And you would, expect that, Hiccup and Jack Frost may not, you would expect that they may not get along in a relationship. And, when you see them in writing, these characters don't get along. They are at odds sometimes. And you can see it for some of these other characters too, where they're at odds. And I think that's enjoyable because it's what you would expect.
On that note, read my fan fictions on the matter. Shameless plug.
On that note, read my fan fictions and get frustrated that I never update them.
Uh-oh.
I have, to quote Gobbler, I've got so many ideas.
That's
But
You can just draw them down. You don't have to write them.
yeah, but
You
and
know,
that's the other thing
speaking,
too.
speaking of which,
So let me just say that the other thing for Leffie, like for her, what she just said, as an artist, you can draw them down. I was about to say, yeah, but don't you have unfinished artworks? But then, like 90% of the time, Leffie will post. It's like, oh, I just had some old doodles lying around, and she posts them anyway. It's like I can't post an unfinished fic. It's like, oh, an unfinished fic.
Yeah,
Like,
you
what
can.
happened?
Well,
It's just
An
people would be mad at
asshole
you.
move, yeah, because he's an asshole.
Well, I don't. Well, if I notice it's been some time, I will update. But yes, I draw most things and I don't finish them. But I think it's the same with writing. I can finish a piece in 30 minutes or 50 minutes, and writers take days for theirs. So that's enough, I guess.
But,
I'm sorry.
But I mean, let's not shortchange you on work, right? Like both things take a lot of work still. Yet.
Yeah, they
Even
do.
art
Like,
takes a ton of work.
yeah, I'm a really fast drawer, so don't underestimate that. Many people just spend hours.
You made
On
my
their
freaking
pieces, but I
profile
don't.
picture in about like 20 minutes. I don't.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't.
know.
I don't expect you to take forever.
Yeah.
Speaking of unfinished fan fictions in this kind of a forum, I started writing like a fan fiction where Hiccup and Merida are roommates, no ships, just a fun thing. And I might have uploaded the chapters I have finished, even though I haven't finished the entire thing. But there's one problem: the computer I had it on died, so this will probably never see the light of day.
It's so sad.
To be honest, I only wrote 3 chapters for it. I could probably redo them if I'll have the time. Don't have the time, but that's another thing.
But back on the ships, we should ask: are there any ships that you've seen or enjoy that aren't, related to Hiccup with Disney or Pixar? Because most of these so far have been Disney and Pixar, with the odd exception of another DreamWorks franchise.
Hiccup X writer. I'm just kidding.
Well, that's an OC. That's an OC. That doesn't really count. Let me think about something. I am grateful that none of my psychotic friends have found the Hiccup X some character that HC likes ship.
He's talking about Sonic.
Thankfully.
Ladies and gentlemen. He's talking about Sonic.
You
Again,
know,
he's
not-
talking about
you-
Sonic.
Yes.
Not necessarily though. Not necessarily.
He's talking about the
I'm
Teenage
just-
Mutant Ninja Turtles, ladies and gentlemen. That's what he's
Oh,
talking
thank God we didn't see that. Thank God we didn't.
If
reach
not that, he's talking about Spider-Man, ladies and gentlemen.
Spider-Man. Get me pictures of Spider-Man X Hiccup. He's a menace.
People have said that if they would cast a live-action Hiccup, it would be Andrew Garfield. So in that case, Hiccup would be dating himself. Now here's a ship for ya: Hiccup X Hiccup.
I
What?
can see it.
Yeah, Astrid, I just don't see anything in you anymore. Oh, who's this handsome devil? Hiccup, that's a mirror. Ooh.
How did we not play scrap metal until now, guys? This is
Oh,
insane.
what are we doing?
No.
You're
Yeah.
right.
Scrap metal.
Well, Mala convinced Dagger to buy new boots, so Hiccup X Dagger's
Old boots.
Old boot.
boot.
It's not. It's only the left boot as well, by the way.
Well, shut up. You know what I mean.
It's only the old
Shut
left
up,
boot.
Wolf. Classic.
The right boot is more or less a wingman, if you will.
So it's gotcha.
Talking about outside ships, though, and that aren't Disney or Pixar related, one of the ships that I think I enjoy the most that are like, Hiccup with an outside character from a different universal world is Hiccup X Dany. Or from Game of Thrones, Daenerys Targaryen.
Oh, okay. For some reason, as soon as you said Danny, I thought you mean Danny Phantom. And I'm
Phantom,
like,
yeah,
what?
no. Daenerys
I don't know
Targaryen.
that character from Game of Thrones.
I've read some fan fiction for that one, and that one is, if it's written, and some of the stuff I've read is written really well, that one can be really enjoyable and a lot of fun, and I've definitely enjoyed that one, I think, the most. So I think that's probably my favorite Hiccup shipped with a completely different character. But even then, that wasn't necessarily them together. That was just them, once again, interacting with one another. So... but that
Actually,
one's probably my favorite that isn't Disney or Pixar related.
I just see the DVD case I have for this, and I recall seeing one time a Hiccup and Veronica Mars ship, which is the most, I don't know if the most, but it's one of the most that ever wide in the universe. This is like, how do you go from this to this? How? Just like it's. I don't have words. I don't have any words. It broke me. You talk about this. Maybe you can figure out something. I just don't know.
We can't talk about it because I have no clue who Veronica Mars is.
Oh, shame on you then. Shame on you.
Shame on me.
That's the internet. Think about something and it exists.
I'll
Is there a
say
female?
I'll say this: it's not animated, and it takes place in modern times, and it's live action. Actually, I said that it's not animated. Dory. That's how much I don't get this ship. It makes me stupid, more than usual.
Hiccup X Tony Stark.
Oh yeah,
Actually, you
Adventure
know what?
Bros.
the sarcasm.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised we didn't talk about this yet. There's actually a Hiccup X hero from Big Hero 6. How did we miss that?
Hero's too young.
That's-
Not going to talk about it. Mm-mm.
Pedophilia? Yeah.
Mhm.
Really?
Yeah. That's one of the reasons I like it
Is it
myself.
the younger or the older Hiccup?
Uh,
'Cause then-
Uh,
but still.
either way,
How old is Hero? I thought he was like in his teens.
he's 14.
Oh.
low teens.
Again, I think I think people don't. It's not like, again, you're like putting romantic connotations to shipping, and I think that's more of a kind of like, hey, we're bro inventors. Let's invent stuff and then grow up.
No, I've seen one where they are bro invented. I've seen a few that it's an actual item. Let's call
Again,
it this.
Exceptions, not the rule.
Mm-hmm.
And the rule is shipping isn't inherently romantic, unless you make it romantic.
Okay,
Not
fine.
shipping was meant by default. Maybe that's just me.
You'll find I
Okay.
generally tend to go against the grain when it comes to shipping. So.
Yeah.
Wolf is very difficult to say the
Yeah.
least.
Oh God! You know what? Here's
Hard
my
to
ship.
do.
Here's my ship. Hiccup X Wolf.
I wonder how he's looking right now.
Pass.
I would have dropped my I would have dropped my mic right now, but that wouldn't drop in my phone, and I kind of need it.
If I drop my mic, I might damage it, and it's expensive.
I think I scared them away.
No, I pass.
Okay.
Wolf's ready for this episode to be over. HC, why did you come back? Why couldn't you just stay disconnected?
Well, Discord decided to walk, so blame Discord, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this episode is getting out of hand. Does anyone
little
have
bit.
anything else? Does anyone have a serious note before we end, or can we just end this weird discussion?
We can end it.
I have nothing more to say.
Shipping is a thing. If you whatever you're in ship you may enjoy, continue to enjoy it. There is nothing wrong with it inherently, as long as you're not inherently going out of your way to hurt other people or tell other people their ship is terrible. Then enjoy the ship you enjoy. There's nothing wrong with doing so.
Exactly.
Have fun.
Have
At the end
fun
of
with
the day,
your
That's all that matters.
have fun with your ship. Don't kill off Astrid, and everything is going to be all right.
Or do.
The moral of the day.
Oh God. Rash, Leffie, any final guys?
Thank you for having me on
Thank you for joining us.
again.
We should ask Leffie, since we're ending, where can people find you at? And what do you do? That we've talked about it a little bit.
I'm an artist. I draw fan art and original art. Fan art is mainly How to Train Your Dragon right now. It's on Tumblr, Instagram, and DeviantArt. But if you're looking for the How to Train Your Dragon stuff, you can mainly find it on Tumblr. If you can leave a link there, I don't know if people do that in the description.
Yeah,
So
no, we
people
link
can
all
find
of
it.
our guests in the description. Good lord,
Okay.
what am I going to link? Am I going to link Leffie.tumblr.com? LeffieDrawsFanArt.tumblr.com?
I have way too many. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We'll
For
link.
everything, Leffie,
Everything.
go to this.
Everything is linked. You will find links everywhere. You just go to the About Me page and there will be links.
Everything is Leffie.
The Leffie song.
Hiccup X Emmett, the true OTP of all time.
I actually thought you were going to be there, and you disappointed me because you went there. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this odd episode of the Berkcast. We hope you enjoyed. If you want to tell us what are your favorite Hiccup ships, either in universe or out of universe, you can do all of that on our Tumblr, where we are known as Berkcast Team, on our Twitter, where we are Berkcast with capital B, capital C, the comment section for this video, obviously, and you can find all of us on the Berk forums and the How to Train Dragon Discord. So until next time, I was HC.
I was Rush.
And I've been Wolf.
Leffie.
And we will talk to you all next time. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.